The Joe Rogan Experience.
It's supposed to be amazing fishing. The Catalina apparently is like the greatest mako shark fishing in the world, which is here's a weird one. Shark fishing, all of a sudden you're an asshole. It used to be with Jaws, like you caught a shark. Hey, good, get that fucking thing out of here. They're going to kill people.
Yeah.
Now it's like, you monster, shark's fin soup. Don't you care about don't you know there's global warming? Like everything gets conflated. It's all like piled on together. Like, what are you doing with a shark? You used to be able to buy mako shark in a restaurant.
Oh, you still see it, but
Yeah.
there is. I saw a thresher shark the other day on the menu. I did a magazine story about this long ago. It was right when I got out of school, and it was the first like assignment I had to go write an article, and I was writing it for Outside Magazine, and this is 19 years ago, man. And there's a thing called Mako Madness, and it was this thing in Montauk. You know what's funny about doing this? This is in 2000, and I got sent out there and had never, ever been to New York. And I didn't even go into the city. I just flew into wherever the hell I flew into and got a car and stupidly took a cab to, I didn't understand I was just very young. I didn't understand. Like, I took a cab from like the airport out to Montauk.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
How much did that cost?
I don't even remember. But I remember like when I had to determine my expenses, people were like, "Hold on, what?" And I'm like, I didn't know. But anyways, it was funny because I remember driving along and seeing it was like the summer before, and seeing the Twin, it was like a year before, and seeing the Twin Towers, you know?
Oh, yeah.
And it was like my first ever view, and I never saw that place again. I never saw it again until after. But there's this thing called Mako Madness, and it was like a shark tournament. And traditionally it had been like a contest to get the biggest shark. And they would bet money on it. And there was like the general registration fee. So all these captains who had charter boats would join Mako Madness, and they would book clients on their boats for Mako Madness. And when you had to pay some amount of money this probably still goes on. You had to pay some amount of money to register your boat to be in the contest. But the real money was in all these side bets called Calcuttas. And so there was enough side betting going on around all the various captains that the biggest Mako could win $100,000, a couple $100,000 to catch the biggest Mako. But the fatal flaw in this tournament, from a public perception standpoint, would be that there was a category for just biggest shark, and there was a category for like biggest Mako. So people going out like at a time, this is when shark populations were still, you know, and globally they're still on a decline, but there was still a lot of shark bycatch from swordfish, long lining, and other things. And people were getting very worried about shark stocks and shark numbers. And at one time, Mako Madness, there was a lot more Makos, like people would be registered Makos. But there had been some years where Mako Madness had no Makos. People weren't bringing in a Mako. So everyone would go out and just make damn sure that, like, I don't want to come back empty. So they would catch a blue shark. Because if no one caught a Mako, you still might get biggest shark from catching a blue shark. And at the end of this thing, man, they had dumpsters. They would not dumpsters. They would fill a dumpster with blue sharks.
And no one would eat it.
Dude, it would go into a dumpster.
But you can eat blue shark.
Yeah. Well, you can. They're high in urea, and there's, it's like everything else. Like, yes, you can.
So Mako is the most edible?
Mako, thresher.
Can you eat a great white?
You know what's funny about great whites is there's a writer I love, and he does all these fisheries guidebooks named Vic Dunaway. I don't know if he's dead or alive, but I got all of his books. He's got like Gulf Coast, Pacific Ocean, Atlantic Coast. He does these books it's like all the fish that you're likely to catch, kind of like how to catch them. And then what I like about it, he's got like a food quality section, and his food quality sections are really funny. And like the highest praise is he can give something like excellent or one of the best, right? So if you look up snook, it'll be like one of the best. His headline for I looked in Great White Shark, it says, "Don't even ask." But people feel that they'd be good because salmon shark are good. They used to call them poor beagles. Like salmon shark have a very good reputation, and Makos have a good reputation, and threshers have market value. And there's other sharks in other areas that have market value, but those ones are ones that are popular table fare. The assumption is that great white sharks would probably be good.
There must be somebody who's eating one.
Oh, I'm sure there's plenty of people that have eaten them. But at this Mako Madness thing, I can't remember the point I was getting at. What the hell was I driving at by talking about Mako Madness? Oh, in this article, I got into like the history of where like shark hunting and killing sharks came from is you're familiar with Jaws, right? Mm-hmm. Well, sort of the shark fisherman character in Jaws is based on this like very real dude, Frank Mundus. And Frank Mundus used to fish out of Montauk. And at a time, Montauk was this premier destination for people catching swordfish and big bluefin tuna. And as those big pelagic fisheries had collapsed from overfishing in the 70s, Frank Mundus, he'd go out and he'd just go out and find he'd go out famously, he'd go out and find a beached whale, or not a beached whale, but a floating dead whale. And he'd anchor up on that whale and catch big ass great whites. And then come in and hang the bloody carcass up on the docks. And he made necklaces with tooth sharks and shit. And he became like the monster man or something, or the monster hunter, and started booking all these crazy trips where tourists would come and be like, holy shit, I want to go kill a big monster. And he's credited with having created this like culture of like going out and getting,
Is that him?
That's Frank Mundus.
Let me see that picture upper left.
Dude. So
there he is.
He kind of like built this idea of like shark hunting and
like shark bite in his forearm. Go back to that.
That'd be interesting if Frank Mundus did.
Forearm. Oh, something took a bite out of that motherfucker.
So he's got the necklace.
Yeah,
the dead shark, and Frank Mundus kind of like spawned this sort of thing where you'd want to go out and catch a big shark and hang it up and then throw it in a dumpster.
Wow.
And people look at when people look at that history, they look at it being as like, it's like in some ways Mundus and shark hunting was symptomatic of declining fisheries.
Look at that picture of him and the dude from the movie. They're so similar. Look at that. The black and white and the color next to each other. Look at that.
Oh, yeah.
What was that guy's name? The guy in the movie.
Can't remember.
What was the actor's name? That guy was fucking awesome. What a great scene.
You know Mo Fallon?
Yeah.
That's still his favorite movie, I think.
It's a great movie.
Dude, he loves Jaws.
It's a great movie. It's interesting that the narrative...
He could next time you see him, have him convince you that Jaws is the greatest movie ever.
It's a great movie. It's a great movie. Richard Dreyfuss. I mean, come on. The narrative of shark's fin soup and sharks being, something that we need to protect, that sort of... It's a new thing. It's only existed over the last decade or so.
I think so.
Yeah, it used to be if you caught a shark, like good for you. You're keeping it from killing someone who's swimming or someone who's surfing.
The idea of shark's fin soup and its allure was driven home to me one time when we were in Berkeley and we were at a boat launch. We'd come off fishing and we'd been out fishing for leopard sharks. Remember The Life Aquatic? Mm-hmm. That's a good movie.
Yeah.
Do you like his stuff or no?
Bill Murray? Love him.
No, I mean like the director, Wes Anderson.
Oh, what has he done besides that?
Fucking Royal Tenenbaums.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think his masterpiece is The Life Aquatic. But in there they got, the famous shark, and there's the jaguar shark, which is a good idea for a shark. I don't think it exists. But there are leopard sharks. And we were fishing for leopard sharks. And we came back to the boat launch, and there's a dumpster there. And everybody cleans their fish and throws the fish guts in the dumpster. And I remember there was a gentleman digging through the dumpster, getting out leopard shark fins and heads and stuff. And I took pity on him. I thought that he was acting out of some sort of desperation. And I said, hey man, do you want like a nice fillet? I'd be happy to give you a fillet. He's like, no. He just wanted just the fins.
Just to make soup?
Yeah.
Yeah. Have you ever had it?
No.
I've had it.
Shark fin soup?
Yeah.
Did you enjoy it?
It was weird. It was like, it's okay. It's okay. It's definitely not worth eradicating a fucking entire species for.
No, it's a little disgusting. It's a little disgusting. And I'm always reluctant, I'm a little bit reluctant to sort of oversimplify things around harvest and animals and stuff, because I think people can take it too far. But if you've seen footage of people cutting fins
and dumping the sharks in the water
and kicking the sharks off the deck into the water,
it's dark.
And I think it speaks to something. I think that seeing like live finless sharks going into the water speaks to something about just your level of care. Do you know what I mean? Like whether you view something as sacred or not. It's hard to see that the individual engaging in that is viewing it as sacred. And there's there's a lot of stories about even like swordfish captains, burning blue sharks and stuff in effigy because they lose so much of their swordfish catch the blue sharks. But to see people kicking them off, it speaks to something about animal suffering. It speaks to something about like what is that person's view of the resource, like how do they respect it? But it also just speaks to like a general thing where you don't like to see things wasted.
Yeah.
And my understanding about like one of the things that slowed in U.S. waters, one of the things that slowed finning was just you used to be able to go out and you could fill your hold full of just shark parts. If you were a fishing captain, you could just be like, oh, I'm just going to keep the fins. And eventually they made it, I'm sure someone will correct me if I'm wrong here. I don't think I am. They eventually made it that whatever you have for shark materials in your boat on a commercial operation, only a certain percentage can be comprised of fins. And since when you're on a commercial vessel, your hold, like the area where you keep iced fish, is finite, it's limited. It wound up being not worth it. Because let's say only like 30% of your shark parts could be shark fins and you had to keep the rest, it wasn't worth it to fill your hold full of like shark meat. And so it sort of de-incentivized people to go out and fin in U.S. waters.
That makes sense. I had it a long time ago. I had it back in probably the 90s at a Chinese restaurant.
In the U.S. or overseas?
In the U.S.